All right, deep divers, ready to explore another fascinating text.
Absolutely. Always up for a good deep dive.
Today, we're heading right into the heart of the Quran, looking at Surah Yunus, or, as some might know it, the chapter of Jonah.
A chapter full of those big questions, huh? Creation, prophets, the meaning of faith. It's got it all.
And you guys sent in some really interesting excerpts from it, so let's see what we can unpack together.
Sounds good to me. Where should we start?
Well, those verses about Allah's power, they kind of jumped out at me, especially verse 3, the one about creating the heavens and the earth in 6 days.
Right. A concept you see across different faiths, too. It's about establishing that ultimate power. Allah is the sole creator.
The architect of everything.
Exactly. Though those 6 days, they're often interpreted metaphorically. Some scholars, they'll say it represents these huge cosmic eras way beyond how we humans think about time.
So not just a literal week, more about like the scale of it all.
Yeah, like saying, try holding the entirety of creation in your hand. That's the power we're talking about here. It's meant to make you think about just how vast it all is.
Wow, yeah. Puts things in perspective. And then there's that part, verse 5, I think, about the sun and the moon, their phases. It's almost like a daily reminder, isn't it?
Absolutely. For believers, those natural things, they're not just science happening, they're signs. Proof of Allah's design, you know what I mean?
Seeing the divine in the everyday.
Exactly. It's woven into everything.
Makes me think about all those early Islamic scholars who are also astronomers, mathematicians.
Oh, absolutely. Studying the stars, creating calendars. They made huge contributions to astronomy, all while connecting it back to their faith.
Seeking Allah in both the scriptures and the stars. I like that. But Surah Yunus, it doesn't shy away from those tougher topics either. Verse 4, it's pretty intense with the boiling water, the torment.
Right, a stark contrast.
Yeah.
Those images, the heaven and hell, they're complex, open to interpretation.
Right.
But this verse, it's highlighting the weight of our actions. What we do matters.
It's a reminder that there's a bigger picture. Our choices have meaning. And speaking of choices, verse 12 really hit home for me. The part about praying when things are rough, but forgetting when they're good.
Oh, I know that one. Classic human nature, right?
We've all been there, like, I'll totally stick to my resolutions once this cold is gone, ha ha.
This verse, though, it puts that in the context of faith. It's about cultivating that constant gratitude, remembering the good even when we don't need something.
Being thankful for the good times, not just, calling for help in the bad. It's a good reminder. And Surah Yunus, it doesn't just talk broadly. It gets into the nitty-gritty with stories, especially about the prophet.
The messengers, yeah. They're central to understanding how this faith works.
Verse 13 mentions them being sent to guide humanity. Made me think of Moses and Pharaoh. Now that's a story everyone's heard in some form.
Oh, for sure. Moses is hugely important in Islam. And his story, it highlights the struggles prophets often face.
Not an easy job. Like in verse 74, Pharaoh's disbelief, it's almost a power struggle playing out. Prophet versus king challenging the established way.
Exactly. And that's a recurring theme in the Quran, this idea of, can you believe in something beyond what you can see, especially when it means going against those in power?
Especially when you've got, magic on your side. Verse 76, it mentions magic as Pharaoh's way of countering Moses' miracles. What was the deal with magic in ancient Egypt anyway?
Oh, it was huge, woven into their whole society. Religion, worldview, everything. We might see it as tricks now, but for them, it held a much deeper meaning.
So when Moses comes along, it's more than just, my miracles are better. It's a clash of whole belief systems.
Exactly. Faith versus the material world, you could say. The seen and the unseen battling it out. These verses, they really make you think about what it means to truly believe in something.
And what it takes to stand up for those beliefs, even when it feels like going against the grain. Speaking of which, we can't forget about Jonah himself.
The surah's namesake. His story is all about forgiveness, second chances, something we can all relate to.
Big time. Like even when we mess up, and Jonah, he really messed up, there's a path back.
Always a chance for redemption. And in verse 98, when it talks about belief lifting the suffering of Jonah's people, that's a powerful image of hope right there.
Even when it seems bleak, there's a way out. But then there's that other verse, 99, about if Allah willed it, everyone would believe. Feels like it's getting into free will, destiny.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. The balance between Allah's plan and our own choices is one of those ongoing theological debates.
So it's not about being forced into belief, but finding our own way.
You could say that. It's about seeking that guidance, taking ownership of our spiritual journey. Definitely something to ponder on.
A lot to unpack there. And you know what? I think we've earned ourselves a little break to do just that. Don't go anywhere, deep divers. We'll be right back with more insights from Surah Yunus. All right, so picking up where we left off with Surah Yunus, we're talking about some heavy stuff, free will, destiny, these prophets trying to make their voices heard. But it feels like there's also this, I don't know, a thread about trust running through it all.
You're right, it's definitely there. Throughout Surah Yunus, there's this emphasis on seeking guidance from Allah, trusting in His plan. Even when, let's be honest, it's not always clear what that plan is yet.
Exactly. Like we were looking at before the break, verse 104, I think, where it talks about seeking that guidance, putting your trust in something bigger than yourself.
Surrender, almost.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that there's a wisdom at play that we might not grasp fully with just our own human understanding.
Right. And that in itself can be kind of comforting. Like, hey, we're not expected to have it all figured out.
Not at all. In fact, that's a huge part of what Surah Yunus is getting at, I think. Life's messy, things happen, but there's a deeper meaning running through it all if you connect with that faith.
Finding that peace amidst the chaos, knowing there's a plan, even if you can't see the roadmap right now. So if you had to boil it down, what would you say Surah Yunus is really about? What's the core message?
Oh, that's a great question. For me, it's a call to action, almost.
Yeah.
Embrace your faith. Lead a life that reflects that and understand that real, lasting peace. That comes from Allah.
Aligning yourself with that higher purpose, however you understand it. I mean, you see that throughout the whole surah, right? The warnings, the stories, it's all pointing back to that connection with the divine.
It's woven into every verse, a reminder of presence, of power. And honestly, it's a lot to take in. But you're following along beautifully.
Well, you're making it easy to get lost in this world. And you know me, I love a good deep dive. But with these sacred texts, there's always more to uncover, isn't there?
Always. That's what makes it so fascinating. Every time you come back to it, there's a new layer to uncover, a new way to understand.
Exactly. Like that verse we talked about before, verse 61, about Allah being aware of everything we do, even something as tiny as the weight of an atom. That stuck with me.
Powerful imagery, isn't it? It makes you think about those little actions, the choices we make when we think no one's watching.
Because someone or something, there are repercussions even if we don't see them right away, and that's humbling, to say the least. It makes you want to really think about what you're putting out there.
Absolutely. Intention is everything. It's a call to be present, to understand it. Our actions have ripples, even in the grand scheme of things.
Owning your choices because they matter. Wow, deep stuff today. And on that note, I think we've done some serious exploring of Surah Yunus for one episode. But before we wrap up completely, it's wild, right? We spent this whole time with a text that's ancient, but it still feels like it's speaking directly to us.
That's the thing about the Quran, isn't it? The wisdom in those verses, it goes beyond time and place. And Surah Yunus, it's like a guidebook, helping us face those big challenges, figure out our place in this whole universe, even how to just grow a little bit spiritually.
Finding a way to make life mean something. And it all comes back to that verse, the one about Allah's awareness. Even the weight of an atom makes you think twice about those little choices we make when we think no one's paying attention.
Someone or something is always watching, right? That's a powerful thing to remember. Like every action has weight. It ripples outward, even if we don't see how.
It's on us to own our choices, knowing they make a difference. Wow. We've really gone deep on Surah Yunus today, haven't we? Before we wrap up completely, though, any parting words of wisdom for our deep divers out there?
Just this, don't ever stop being curious. Keep asking those questions. Keep searching for knowledge. Keep your mind open to new ways of seeing the world.
Beautifully said. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this incredible journey into Surah Yunus. Until next time, keep exploring, keep diving deep, and we'll see you in the next one.